appellate lawyer and legal writing enthusiast, and I'm back with my sparkly shirt, and we're going to talk some more Demurrer. Okay, this case was a sexual assault case against, it was by a patient who was alleging that her doctor sexually assaulted her during a routine examination. All right, pretty horrible facts. So the complaint had 5 causes of action: medical negligence, sexual harassment, sexual battery, negligent hiring, supervision and retention, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So the defendant, the doctor in this case, there were several defendants, but in this case, the Demurrer was brought by the doctor defendant, and the doctor said he made 3 assertions. He said the cause of action for sexual harassment fails to state facts sufficient to support the cause of action. The cause of action for sexual battery also fails to state enough facts to constitute a cause of action. And intentional infliction of emotional distress claim, that also fails to state facts sufficient to support that cause of action. So it challenged 3 of the causes of action. And now let's go to our order of operations and figure out how to attack this brief. Okay, so we're starting with our vision. We're opposing the Demurrer. So our vision is that we want the court to overrule the Demurrer, and we want to order the court to order the defendant to file and serve an answer so we can get on with litigation. That's what we want to happen. Okay, so what are we talking about for evidence here? What do we need for evidence and facts? Only what's in the complaint. That's all you can use for facts, is only what's in the complaint. So, but we're going to want to go through the complaint itself and pull out the facts that were alleged. And we're going to want to say, hey, paragraph 42 says this, and paragraph 51 says this, and here's how, here's what we need to do. Here's the evidence that we're talking about in this case. The evidence is what's been alleged. Extrinsic evidence, that's evidence outside the 4 corners of the complaint itself, not allowed. We can't bring it up. We can do an attorney declaration that's going to help establish a procedural history. For example, the complaint was filed on this day. The defendant sent me a letter saying that they were going to file a Demurrer. We met and conferred. We went back and forth on it a couple times, and ultimately we were not able to come to a conclusion. And so that's why the court has to have this hearing to figure it out because the defendant, whoa, what's going on here? Because we can't agree. So the court needs to make it a ruling. So you can do that kind of a declaration, but otherwise we're not talking about any other evidence that can come in right now. We're only talking about the 4 corners of the complaint. Okay, so that goes through vision, evidence, attorney declaration, and now we're going to go on and work on our statement of facts. Because we've already gone through our evidence, aka the allegations in the complaint, we now have a list that's a statement of facts. Keep it short. State only the facts that are relevant to the causes of action challenged by the Demurrer, and tell the procedural history and the general story of the case that's included in those allegations that you're going to be bringing up. Cite to the specific paragraphs within the complaint that help you prove your claims. All right, now we're going to outline. Whatever the defense says is missing, I always do the following headings in my Demurrer, no matter what the defendant brings up. For introduction, always statement of allegations and procedural history, legal standard on Demurrer. What is a Demurrer? What's required of it? What is the court supposed to be thinking about when it's making a decision, a ruling on Demurrer? And then I say plaintiff has pled. Then I do my legal argument section, and that always is a heading for each cause of action challenged by the defendant. And each heading says plaintiff has pled facts sufficient to state a cause of action for X, Y, Z, whatever. Then I do a section about the doctrine of less particularity. That doctrine, just quickly, is that a plaintiff can only allege what he or she knows. The plaintiff doesn't know what goes on inside the head of a defendant. You don't know exactly what they were thinking or what was going on. So all you can do is basically state what you know. You can state the facts that are there. You don't have a duty to plead things that you couldn't possibly have information about. So certain things like, I don't know what's going on inside a defendant DUI driver's head. Like, I don't know what's going on in their head, but I do know that they drove themselves to the bar. They did not make plans for an alternative transportation source. They drank to excess, and then they got in their car and drove home. And to me, I can make that leap that they intended to do something, which means that, then I can make some assumptions, but I don't know what's inside their head. I can't possibly be expected to know that at the pleading stage. So that's the doctrine of less particularity. I don't have to be extremely particular about things that I could not possibly know. So I do that section, and then I do a section that says, even if you think that I'm wrong on all of this, you should give me a chance to amend the complaint if you're thinking of sustaining the demurrer. And then I do a conclusion. That's it. That's the outline for every single demurrer opposition I write, because it's always the same thing. It's very formulaic. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to each of my sections, and I'm going to say, oh, so in this case, you think that I don't have enough statements of facts to support a cause of action for sexual battery? Well, let me tell you what they are. Here are the elements. Here's what I have to prove. And usually I just pull this straight from the jury instruction. The jury instruction says to prove this, I've got to meet these 4 or 5 elements. And here are facts that match this element. Here are facts that match this element. Here's facts that match this element. The end. I'm done. Sometimes it's a little more tricky because it'll be like a governmental immunity. Like, even if everything plaintiff says is true, it doesn't matter because we get this immunity, and I've got to address the immunity and what elements what elements are included in that and what facts I have that can overcome that. But you get the point. And maybe they're not challenging a cause of action. Maybe they're saying this immunity applies, or this they have this affirmative defense that is going to wipe everything off the plate. And so then you might address that instead of a particular cause of action. But you get the point. You're going to just do the elements, and you're just going to eat factually. I even just do bullet points sometimes. Oh, here's the element. Here's the paragraphs of the complaint where there are facts that meet this element. And then that's it. So what else do I want to say about this? Okay, so my conclusion for every demurrer is this. Plaintiff has pled facts sufficient to meet the burden of each element of every cause of action addressed by the moving defendant's demurrer. Accordingly, plaintiff respectfully requests that the defendant's demurrer be overruled and that the defendant be ordered to file an answer to the operative complaint within 10 days. Bam. In my demurrer opposition template, that's already there. Like, I don't have to rewrite that forever. That's the conclusion I always use. The introduction is very similar for most demurrer oppositions as well. I'll start with plaintiff's operative complaint alleges these causes of action. These causes of action are properly pled, and the specific allegations are more than sufficient to establish them against the moving defendant. And then I'll say, specifically defendant has said blah, blah, blah. And this, I'll move on from there. But then the final sentence of every introduction is the demurrer must be overruled. That's it. Keep it simple, keep it declarative, keep it interesting. Above all, always keep it interesting. And you'll be, I don't know a good ending to this video. Just make it a good day, okay? Thank you.